Are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Tusspell? Not at all. She is in the antechamber as we speak and ready to be summoned. And might I say, she is a fine piece of ass. What was that? Nothing. Let us proceed. Ooh, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am the Story-Driven Gamer, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are hopping back into the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. In the last episode, most of it was just the summation examination. We just had to get the jurors back on our side, and naturally we succeeded. And now we're going to be calling, or Van Zykes is going to call Madame Tusspell to the stand. Because we talked about Courtney Scythe, and we also talked about the possibility of the wax figure being involved during this jury summation thing. So, Van Zykes figures it's imperative we speak to the person who the wax figure belonged to. Which makes sense. And so we took a little break. I went a little bit beyond the to be continued, just because otherwise it would be a really short episode. Still a short episode, but it would have been much shorter if I stopped it there. But what happened? Oh yeah, the notable thing that happened was that Courtney Scythe showed up, and she said that she was not going to be taking the stand at all because she was ordered not to by what's his face, Strongheart. So he is shady as all hell. Which isn't surprising. If you've watched my my last playthrough of the last game, I was suspicious of him then too. There's something about people in like positions of power in these Ace Attorney games that are just very untrustworthy. Whether you're a high prosecutor, chief of police, a mayor, a governor of something, it's like they can never be trusted. Strongheart is no exception to me. He exudes power, just in his strength and his demeanor, and all that, And he's being very shady, especially in this game now. Like I said, he's not letting Courtney speak, especially when we have concluded that she might have very well played a part in this case. Let's not forget he's also the one who appointed the masked guy as Van Zykes' apprentice. We still don't know. Again, we think it's Kazuma, but we don't know if it is. And if it is Kazuma, we don't know anything about the situation, why he's there. We don't know anything. We will find out some juicy deets about him. But yeah, other than that, that's mostly what happened. And now that was part of a recess, so now we're jumping back into the trial to question Madame Tusspell. 24th of October, 12:40 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Oh, the wax figure is still there. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready and able to continue? The prosecution is ready, my lord. So is my apprentice. Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready, I think. And the court is aware the case under our scrutiny began with a damaging incident at the Great Exhibition. Yet we now find ourselves embroiled in the details of a convicted felon who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. Right, so we were able to tie Courtney Scythe to the professor, so now that whole thing's coming up. And we have the wax figure of the professor, as you probably just saw, sitting in the middle of the gallery. This trial has certainly defied all expectation. I was just thinking that. It seems to be the fate of all trials in which this Nipponese is involved, my lord. So then, let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the waxwork was cardinally involved in this matter. Lord Van Zykes? What is it, my lord? Are we still awaiting the arrival of Madame Tusspell? Not at all. She is in the antechamber as we speak and ready to be summoned. And might I say, she is a fine piece of ass. What was that? Nothing. Let us proceed. Very well. Bring in the witness. At once, my lord. Bailiff, show Madame Tusspell to the stand. Let's do this. Things are about to become a lot more intense. More intense? Okay, I believe you. If Trevor is responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have had an accomplice in Dr. Scythe. And what connects the pair of them is the waxwork. Yes. The model of the professor. That's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tenuous link, admittedly, but at present, it's all we have to go on. Oh, look at you. I missed you. State your name and occupation for the court, please. Look, she's working on a model. Or a bust. Oh, sorry, I gave it like that French accent. My name is Madame Tusspell. I am a waxwork artisan. And the proprietress of the Madame Tusspell Museum of Waxwork. You will have to pardon me for working as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon. Sorry, I'm really bad. It's been a while since I had to do her voice, but I'm bad at many a foreign accent. I feel like the British one, which is the majority of my accents for this game, because it all takes place in Britain, I'm decent at least, but French, German, whatever other wild accents they have me doing, I kind of suck at, so I'm kind of winging it. Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he? Now there are two of them in the world. Just great. Oh my! What expression is she carving onto that face? He looks aroused. A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this? Oui, that is true. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped. A waxwork model? Kidnapped? How does that work? Yes, my lord. There was a demand for ransom money left behind by the culprit. However, according to what I have just been told outside the courtroom, that was not the true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim? That would be correct. At present, that is no more than conjecture proposed by the defense. It is true, damn it. This is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Udi Asman. But of course, I know him well. He is a part of my odious personages exhibit. I detest to say what is evident, but Mr. Asman does not resemble the professor at all. Yes, but perhaps if you look at him from the proper angle, you can't deny that it kinda somewhat looks like him. Perhaps their faces are very similar. We can't see it. Are you suggesting that we should see now the demasked visage of the professor? Ah, you do have the key. I have here the key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock. But if you get on your knees and beg, I will give it to you. This is absurd. What are you hiding? Pardon? That's a French word, right? I don't know what farce or what your face you've carved into your fancy figure beneath that mask. But clearly, it won't be that of the actual killer. Well, why don't we find out? Indeed! I'm just gonna ignore it. The man's identity was never made public after all. Ah, that is true. The trial took place in a closed court. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was summarily executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. Come on, Zykesy! Live a little. There is no possible way that a repository of tawdry exhibits could get his hands on that information. What? Quel dommage? Gesundheit. It would seem you are unaware of the Tusspell's principles? What principles? The family Tusspell has always prided itself on sculpting its models à la perfection. Every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity. Et voilà, our principles. There is a well-known legend about the Tusspell's waxwork from the time of the French Revolution. A member of the Tusspell's family is said to have made a waxwork of the queen who was executed. Oh, dang. Oui, that is true. It was a century ago now. I believe the Queen's face was carved in the minutes following her death. Actually, at the guillotine site. Oh gosh. That's what it seems likely based on what Madame Tusspell is doing. She's literally just holding it and just crafting a sculpture on the spot. You are correct. The model is on display still today in the House of Horrors. We Tusspell will stop at nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects. Dear me, a somewhat disturbing tenacity of purpose. I'd say. It is the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of the subject. Do it in person. And it has been my family secret for generations. Keep it hush-hush, will you? I don't know why I love that sprite of her. With the... giving you the shush. Do you mean to say that beneath that mask? We, the true visage of the killer is there. This is ludicrous. It's out of the question. Okay. So she's saying it was carved right then and there. So whoever made the waxwork clearly saw them in person. The professor spread terror throughout Great Britain. As a result, the Madame Tusspell special exhibit remains extremely popular even today. The killer, emerging from his own grave. It is a sight to behold. You should come. I think, madam, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You will explain every detail of this macabre model and your personal involvement in its creation. So I feel like the hurdle that we have to cross is we have to make the connection that the professor is involved with this case, and that it's that's imperative to this case that we see his identity. Uh-oh, my battery's dying. Do I have... Okay, good. I have my other controller right here if I need to make a quick switch. Switcheroo. With pleasure. Let's hear it. Our first testimony of the trial. Or this part, rather. The Professor Waxwork. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse, in accordance with Tusspell's family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger, Zeus, and created a mold for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. That was a God of War reference. The very first game. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered. Interesting, okay. The gravedigger? The man sanctioned this? I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knew. Only the gravedigger. What harm would it do, huh? So you truly saw it? The face of that monster? Oh, this is getting intense. Ryunosuke was right. Shh. Quiet, you silly boy. Naturally, I was aware at the time that his identity was a secret. But Tusspell's would not be Tusspell's if we did not insist on absolute fidelity of our sculptures. I don't believe this. I myself have seen the special exhibit at your museum, madam. A truly blood-curdling scene, in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave. I really wonder if there's truth to my theory that... Well, I've said it ad nauseum, but that that the real professor and the witness of the professor switch places. The scene he depicts was the subject of many rumors in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time. That is creepy, but a cool illustration. This special exhibit was based upon the picture in this article. It was the most detailed account of what happened, as reported by the eyewitness who saw it. So, I mean, we've concluded that the witness is Drebber, but we've also talked about there were differences in appearance, like his hair went white. That could just be, that was 10 years ago, so it makes sense his appearance would change a little, but I don't know. 10-year-old article. A newspaper article recounting the tale of an eyewitness to the alleged resurrection of the professor from his grave on the night of his execution. A man rises from the grave. It's too absurd for words. The public enjoy absurdity, monsieur. That is why I have reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum. And it's a waxwork from that exhibit that was stolen some days before the incident at the Great Exhibition, wasn't it? Is that correct? Is the professor you see before you here? Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. Alright, let me just take a look at that article a bit closer. Mr. Drever's dreadful encounter. Mad sheep rampage. Charles Darwin to receive Copley medal. The Great Stink. What was the ball mass to blame for the Great Blaze? Or was it to blame for the Great Blaze? These are... let's read every article. Starting here. No, I'm kidding. We're not doing that. None of that's important. Okay. Yes, let's do it. This waxwork links Drever to Dr. Scythe. And there has to be some reason for that, which hasn't yet come to light. But I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Scythe and Drever were in on this crime together. Hey, that rhymed. Cross-examination. Let's do this. The Professor Waxwork. Okay, so let's start by immediately seeing if anything jumps out at me. So the special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse, in accordance with Tusspell's family principles. I enlisted the aid of the gravedigger and created a mold for the head in the cemetery just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered. I don't know. I could probably just go in order. These all seem kind of important. Let's start with this one. Hold it! Surely that's illegal, isn't it? So she basically, the gravedigger basically dug up the corpse so that she could draw it. It would seem the proprietress of this repository of novelties was blinded by monetary greed. It had nothing to do with the money. The man is part of London's criminal history. That is why I had to sculpt him, to record this history. It is the reason d'etre of the Tusspell's museum. But if the man was convicted in a closed court and sent for immediate execution, then surely nobody but the members of the judiciary present know the killer's true identity. I assure you, behind that mask is hidden the true face of the professor. Do you realize what you're saying? The professor's identity is a national secret. Okay, so again, thinking back to my theory, if they somehow switched, she made, whatchamacallit, she made her exhibit after this all went down, right? After the body rising and Drever supposedly witnessing it. That all happened already. And she went back, dug up the body that was in there at the time. Which again, if they were switched, means that the body that she, made the wax figure for in the first place isn't actually the professor. I have no idea if I'm right about this. I'm just keeping my theory in mind and trying to see if it makes sense going forward. I understand. And now that the truth about this special exhibit has been revealed, it must perhaps close. Of course it will, as will your entire museum if you don't tread very carefully, madam. Don't speak to Miss Tusspell like that, you jerk. That could be another interesting chapter in the history of my family, don't you? I think, don't you? 10 years ago, on the night of the professor's execution, you took a wax impression of his face from the corpse. Again, when did him rising from the grave, I don't know, did that happen already? That's what I need to know. Oui, exactement. Okay, well, let's just keep going. We'll figure that out when the time comes. Okay, you hid yourself? You were there longer than you expected to be? I had some difficulties in capturing the subject form correctly. As I removed the mask, the mouth of the cadaver fell open, and I had some problems with the chin. Oh gosh. Dare I ask? The man had been dead for a short while already, you see. His muscles were relaxing, and consequently his chin would not align itself correctly. Oh dear. What a horrible thought. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight, Ryunosuke. Under normal circumstances, I would have an assistant with me. However, that night, I was alone, and as a consequence, I missed my preferred window of time. What do you mean? When I take the impression of the visit of a cadaver, I always wait until 3 hours after death. Why 3 hours? Is that amount of time significant? I had a feeling, yeah, rigor mortis, so... Because then they wouldn't... Or whatchamacallit, they would, they'd be stiff. Stiff as the board, as it were. So stuff like that wouldn't happen. It is because of rigor mortis. Oh, wriggly mortis? Come on, Ryunosuke. Let me consult my book. It's the name given to a phenomenon that occurs in recently deceased bodies. As a rule, 3 hours post-death, the muscles in the body begin to stiffen. By approximately 10 hours post-death, the entire body is completely rigid and inflexible. And then, from that point on, the muscles slowly start to revert to their relaxed state. The effect is often used to estimate the time of death when a body is discovered. A body has been discovered! Well, that was an education. If a slightly scary one. Don't give me information unless I ask you, Susato. Gosh. As the Mademoiselle says, rigor mortis commences 3 hours after death, and it starts in the jaw. Let's see. Sorry, I fell asleep, so that's why you wait. Before that time, the mouth falls open, and it is very difficult to do my work. Ugh. Getting hard for me to do my work with all this talk of corpses. Okay, I have a thought. We're gonna find out, did she draw it like that? If the mouth fell open, did she draw it like that? Because, do we have a picture? I don't know that we do. Well, this is Drebber himself. If you remember, we found the waxwork models. And, Drebber was the witness who found it, and his mouth was wide open, was it not? I don't think we have a picture of that, though. Getting hard for me to do my work with all this talk of corpses. Getting weirded out. I wonder about that information the corpse just heard from Madame Tusspell. It's significant. Of course it is. The information about rigor mortis that you just shared with us, would you mind including it in your formal testimony? I believe it could be significant, you see. Of course. I do not mind at all. I can't help feeling that after this latest topic, the atmosphere in the courtroom has become extremely grave. Get it, Ryunosuke? Because we're talking about corpses? Dead people? Yeah, I get it, Susato. Okay, moving on. This is no time for jokes, Miss Susato. Madam, kindly amend your testimony as discussed. Bien sûr. Okay, so what exactly is she going to say? It took me a very long time because it was before the onset of rigor mortis. Okay, I don't know that I have anything yet for that. This is the autopsy report. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th of June. That's all we really got. Okay. This is the head, the mask. Ooh, we might have to keep examining. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to... This is Asman himself. I don't think this has to do with it. Yeah, I have a feeling we probably have to keep, might need to get another piece of evidence. Before I do that, let me start at the beginning. I'm just gonna press everything. And that rumor would be a 10-year-old tale now, but one that no Londoner would ever forget. Oh, right, I know just what you're talking about, I think. Nobody asked you. Of course, it couldn't be anything else. Yes, that story will never disappear. The tale of the condemned killer rising from the dead. That is the central attraction of the House of Horrors. The rumor was whispered all over the city, and it was like this. Okay, maybe we'll get a look at him here. It was in Lowgate Cemetery behind the prison, in the dead of night after the execution of the killer. The interred professor slid back the stone slab covering his tomb and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream welling up inside him. But an instant later, he heard an ear-splitting gunshot from over his shoulder. The bullet struck the emerging corpse, and he fell motionless once more. Oh, I don't think I knew about any of this. The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness, who turned and ran from his life. Huh. The corpse climbed out of his own grave? And then somebody shot him? Who? Who was it? Nobody knows, even today. Now this is like a legend or like a rumor, right? Again, I'm wondering if maybe the person who shot, maybe he didn't shoot the professor, maybe he shot the witness. And then they switched. I don't know, man. I want to keep going with that theory because it'll be really cool if I'm right. I'm not so sure that I am, but... But remember, it was just a rumor. Perhaps nothing more than a ghost story, and that's why I think there might be parts of it that are factual, but other parts might not be. The good people of London, they love stories like these. That is why it was in every newspaper across the capital. But was it just a story? I'm not sure about that. Here we have this paper. I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today at your museum, isn't it? The special exhibit was modeled on that very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of that article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable. Madam, might I say something? Please, go ahead, mademoiselle. When something is described as a rumor, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entirely made up. That's exactly what I was saying. I believe that often, rumors contain elements of the truth. Great minds think alike, Suzuto. I see that people from the East can be just as astute as the people of Europe. Can we be sure, for instance, that the professor's execution was successful? Can we? I mean, it's more plausible that it wasn't. It is not possible for the dead to come back to life. Sorry? 10 years ago, I was there in Lowgate Cemetery, after the criminal known as the Professor was killed by hanging. I took a wax impression of his visage from the corpse, just before it was interred. So I can assure you, the man was dead. I see. It would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate. Okay. Is that true of every waxwork in your museum, then? It is, assuming the subject is dead, of course. Live subjects have to cooperate in a similar way. I have letters from imprisoned criminals all the time, you know. What sort of letters? When my time comes, please make a waxwork of me. Comme ça? I'll do it. I'll make the most beautiful waxwork ever. No! My museum is famous, monsieur. To be made into a waxwork is an honor, and for some criminals, a symbol of status even. Because nothing says hardened criminal better than wax. And it is thanks to one killer in particular that my museum has gained such popularity in London. I refer to the star of the special exhibit, of course, is a professor, whose form you claim to have captured by taking an impression from the actual corpse. There are no exceptions to the principles of Tusspells. Okay. All we have is this last point to press.
Hold it!
And then I have to think. You say that dawn was approaching? What was the time of day then, approximately? Nope, back to my waxwork. Well, I could not say. But when I left the cemetery with my utensils and wax, the morning light was becoming visible. Visible. The execution took place on 17th of June, which had the earliest sunrise of that year. Indeed it did. First light would have been at around 4:40 in the morning. That really is early. The fact is, I had a very little time, so I finished my work in a half hour. It was necessary to complete the impression, and bury the body before daybreak, of course. If somebody had discovered me there, it would have been a catastrophe, so I had to hurry. Is it me, or does Mr. Sholmes seem to be taking shape more quickly now, too? You certainly appear to go to extraordinary lengths for your work, madam. I wonder, is what she said just that particularly significant? Sure. Why not? Madam, those details about how long it took you to complete the sculpture and the early sunrise, can you include them in your testimony? I believe they may be significant. Of course, if you would like me to. You're quite right, Mr. Naruhodo. It is intriguing. A sunrise at 4 in the morning would be absolutely unimaginable at home, wouldn't it? That's not quite what I meant by significant. Kindly amend your formal testimony then, madam. If it's pleasure, my lord. Okay, let's see. I hurried to finish my work in the half hour before sunrise, and I left as soon as the corpse was interred. Okay, so there's something I just noticed. I'm gonna check right now. There is a signature of Asmon's right here. We also have it someplace else. Here, right? Okay, it looks to be exactly the same. I was gonna see if maybe there was a distinct difference between the two signatures. Okay, anyway, that has nothing to do with this. I just happened to notice that. So we got 2 points. We got this one. And this, wait, was it this one? Wait, which one was it? This? Oh yeah, here we go. Long time because before the onset of rigor mortis, and then half hour before sunrise. Okay, wait a minute. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th of June. Okay, and she said, so the hanging was at midnight. She finished her work in the half hour before sunrise. And they said sunrise was at 4? But wait, let me think. I forget now. When did they say sunrise was on this day? They said at 4, right? If that's the case, they said rigor mortis sets in after 3 hours. So rigor mortis should have set in. Oh wait, I skipped it. Yes, he said it was before the onset of rigor mortis, but I was gonna press this.
Hold it!
Rigor mortis being the phenomenon you described, whereby the corpse become stiff after death? I think you said that it starts at the jaw about 3 hours post-death, is that right? Oui, c'est ça. Of course, the exact duration depends a little on the season. I didn't realize a waxwork artisan would be so well versed in the subject. No, that is only elementary knowledge in the field of legal medicine. Well, I had no idea about that, but maybe I won't admit to my ignorance about forensic science. I could ask my father to give you a very simple primer if you like. Nah, I'm good. I think corpses should be your domain. I'm not good with them. Oh dear. I'll do my very best.
Hold it!
Did you have reason to believe you might be discovered once the sun came up or something? I had paid the gravedigger money to keep my little secret, of course. But with the morning light, I knew that the warden from the prison would commence his patrol of the area. Couldn't you just have paid off the warden too, then? I had already paid the gravedigger, as I said. You cannot buy the silence of everyone, or the secret is no longer a secret, huh? The sunrise was at... there we go! 4:40 a.m. that day, which means that it would have been around 4 when you began your sculpting work. Oui, that must be correct. That would be when the gravedigger gave me the signal to come out of hiding. Okay, I think there we go. So, that's all I have to go on. What's your feeling, Mr. Naruhodo? For some reason, Dr. Scythe went along with Trevor's plan. Now, if that's really true, then the professor is the only other thing we know of that links the pair of them. So I feel sure that waxwork must be a clue to his mystery somehow. In that case, we must use this cross-examination to uncover exactly what it means. Otherwise, the jurors are sure to revert their leanings, and the trial will be over. I agree, but interestingly, uncovering what the professor has to do with all of this means more to Lord Van Zykes than anyone. Yeah, true. That's the impression I'm getting, anyway. Yes, as do I. After all, he has a profound connection to the professor as well. Okay. Oh, good. I meant to look earlier, so I got all my health back. Okay, so I think what I gotta do... So she is... I'll say it again. So she says that she made the sculpture before the onset of rigor mortis. And I believe if we present this, it shows that the hanging was at midnight. Yeah, I don't think it would be... let's give it a shot. Do I have anything else that would be better to present there? Like, this had nothing to do with it. This is just the encounter itself. I'm pretty sure that's gotta be it.
Objection!
Yeah, objection! Gotta love when you hear that music. Stop. Madame Tusspell, I have here an autopsy report that was filed 10 years ago now. It confirms the death of the professor following his execution at the gallows. And, is that a problem? I believe it is. With your testimony, and a particular detail in the report, completely contradict one another. What? Qui? I don't know how you say that. Are you going to explain yourself, my Nipponese friend? No, I'm just gonna change the subject now. How's the weather? According to her testimony, Madame Tusspell was creating her wax impression just before dawn. And at that time, rigor mortis had not yet set in. Am I correct so far, madam? You are, yes. As I said, the stiffening of the jaw is the first sign of rigor mortis, 2 or 3 hours after death. But the man was limp, so he cannot have been dead for a long time. But on the other hand, if you look at Dr. Scythe's report, it quite clearly states the following. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, 17th of June. No. Yes. The professor indeed died at midnight that day. And by the time you were sculpting his face, rigor mortis would already have set in. What do you have to say to that, madam? Oui, yes, you are right. The chin, it would have been completely stiff. In other words, this report is wrong.
Objection!
Your face is wrong, my Nipponese friend. No coroner makes mistakes when recording the time of death. The very idea is absurd. Unless you had a reason to fake it. In that case, there's only one possible conclusion. The execution didn't actually take place at the stated time. Impossible, sorry. I was late on that. Order! Order! Counsel, this is beyond folly. Not only do you indict the author of the report, Dr. Scythe, but you also implicate members of staff at Barclay Prison where the execution took place. By heck! Extraordinary! Not in my day! Shut up, jury. My learned friend appears to have overlooked one very crucial fact. What fact? The professor died that night. Without question. He did. Of course he did. I moved the man's limp jaws with my own hands. There was no... Okay, that's gross. Yes, the professor died that night. But what if he didn't die at the gallows? Didn't die at... Are you insane? What exactly are you suggesting did happen in that case? It's almost impossible to believe. But it would explain the link between Dr. Scythe, the professor, and that one other person of interest. I have evidence that will explain exactly what I'm suggesting happened that night. Counsel, present the evidence at once. The evidence that allegedly explains what really happened on the night of the professor's execution. We have this. Okay, I gotta think. I don't think it's this. Okay, we don't know what this has to do with. The camera from around the neck of the waxwork of Mr. Drebber. When the lens is extended, dark staining is visible on the bellows. It's hard to make out, but he appears to be wearing a monocle with black glass. I don't think this has anything to do with it. Oh, you know what? You know what just hit me? I noticed the what do you call it? Signature there. But I didn't realize what it meant. So Asman is the one who drew this then, right? He's the one who drew this picture. So, I mean, this connects Asman to the professor and Enoch Drebber. They're all here. I feel like it's this, but I'm not... Should I just try this? I'm not confident, but the head has nothing to do with anything, right? I don't think this will have anything to do with anything until we figure out... Until we unmask it. I'm gonna try it.
Take that!
What happened that night is written very plainly in this newspaper article. Yes! Executed criminal returns in the dead of night at local cemetery. So I guess it's as simple as the fact that he wasn't killed during the execution, but we know he was shot here, right? So I guess that's all they're getting at, is that this is where he died. You're suggesting it was a corpse coming back from the dead now? Well, if this article is to be believed, yes. The professor, assumed dead following his execution, emerged from his grave and was killed again.
Objection!
This is such a wild case. Don't be a fool. It's simply a rumor published by the gutter press. Never trust the media. Can you be certain of that? Are you serious? The point is, as the article says, there was a witness to what happened. My word! Yes, indeed! The young man who stole into the cemetery by chance that night?
Objection!
That would be Drebber. Of course there was a witness. The story didn't write itself. but obviously the man made it all up. In any case, this was 10 years ago now. There will surely be no hope of finding him. On the contrary, my lord, we all know this witness well. What? Are you suggesting, counsel, that you've identified the person in question? That you know who claims to have seen these utterly incredible events take place? Yes, my lord. In fact, you could say that he's right here before my very eyes. You will substantiate your latest claim now then, counsel? Who is the alleged witness of this staggering scene from the cemetery 10 years ago? I mean... Now, I don't know who they want me to go for, because technically if Asman drew that, he was a witness. But, I mean... He even said that he's right here before our very eyes. So, I mean, Drebber, right? Is he still in the courtroom? It's either Drebber or Asman, because we know Asman drew the article. I'm not sure which they're getting at. I'm gonna try Drebber, I guess.
Take that!
The man in question is Mr. Enoch Drebber. Okay. Drebber. The previous witness. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors at Madame Tusspell's Museum of Waxwork recreates the decade-old scene in great detail. The condemned criminal emerging from the grave, and beside the tomb, a young man with a lantern stumbling upon the terrifying sight. And that young man is a 10-year younger Mr. Enoch Drebber, looking horrified. See, that's what I meant. His jaw was open, but I think I might have just been wrong about that, because I think Madame Tusspell said that she actually went and put his jaw back in place. Order, order, order! Surely not, counsel. Drebber was there in Lowgate Cemetery. What is all this talk about Mr. Drebber? Is the name significant? You bet it is. Of course, Madame Tusspell doesn't know, does she? She's probably never met the man. Yes, it's extremely significant, madam. To your situation as well, in fact. What situation? The theft of the Professor Waxwork from your museum some days ago was perpetrated by the very same man. None. We. But that would mean... Madame Tusspell's. It would appear you know the name, Enoch Drebber. Maybe? Oui. Yes, I know it. But from long ago, in the past. What? Oh my!
Good gracious!
Explain yourself. Tell us everything you know. Yes. Yes, of course. Are we going to another testimony? The story of the young man is a terrible sight he witnessed in the cemetery 10 years ago. It was published in every single newspaper in London and throughout Great Britain. However, in all of the articles, the witness was simply described as a certain young man. No details were published about his identity. His name was never revealed. That is, apart from in one newspaper. The one you just gave us? Is the Daily Circus. It is the paper from which comes the article I've already shown the court. You're saying that his full name was only publicized in that article?
Goodness me, yes, here it is!
The university student who experienced this shocking event is Mr. Enoch Drebber. Okay, and if Mr. Asman was there, because he drew that picture, it looks like, and his signature was there, maybe that's exactly why he needed to die. Maybe that's why Enoch Drebber wanted him dead. Was because maybe it's bad that Asman was able to ID the guy.
a disciple of science at the University of London, and a resident of its student dorms.
Unbelievable. When I read the article, I went to meet with the man. The discovery of the condemned criminal coming back to life in the cemetery in the dead of night would make a perfect exhibit for my House of Horrors, whether it was the truth or not. Fascinating.
I see. So you went to meet Mr. Drebber in order to sculpt the waxwork of the man, did you?
Exactement. He was studying science at the University of London in those days. He was just a poor student. I paid him £5 to model for the waxwork. And since that time, it has been in my museum to recreate the scene of terror from the cemetery. Okay, so he was willing to reveal that he witnessed it then. Silence. But again, if Mr. Asman witnessed the thing that I'm theorizing, that the professor came out, maybe killed the witness, and they switched places, which could again also mean that Enoch Drebber is the real professor. And if Enoch Drebber is worried that Asman witnessed that, again, that might be why he needed to kill him. A criminal who had been put to death, re-emerging from his grave in the middle of the night. But the public treated his claim as nothing more than an amusing anecdote that was soon forgotten. 10 years later, the same man steals a waxwork model of the executed criminal, ostensibly to use as a body double for the victim in the case we're discussing here today. Even though the waxwork build is a poor match for the victim, and its face is obscured by a mask. So the question is, why would the man do such a thing? See, I don't think it really matters that the body double doesn't match exactly. Because the body double is what was in the balloon. Nobody would have gotten a good look at it. And then Courtney Scythe switched the body out with Asman's real body anyway. So, I don't think it really matters if the body matched exactly. Unless it was like really different, maybe like some like fat dude or something. Which brings us to 3 days ago, when the birdcage crashed into the Crystal Tower. If the birdcage had in fact contained not the body of Mr. Asman, but that same waxwork, the coroner from Scotland Yard who investigated Dr. Scythe would have noticed immediately. And yet, she submitted this autopsy report for the victim, which the court has seen earlier. Why? Because the waxwork was that of the professor? Is that what you're saying? Dr. Scythe put her name to a document confirming the death of a condemned criminal who was still alive. Oh, okay. And she wants to cover that up. That makes sense. A criminal whose apparent resurrection was witnessed by Mr. Drebber. But that misconduct was a deadly secret the coroner would do anything to protect. Which is precisely why Mr. Drebber used that particular waxwork as the body double.
Arg!
My lord, this court must summon Dr. Scythe to the stand. I don't care what Stronghearts has to say. The defense is determined to find out exactly how the coroner and Mr. Drebber are connected.
But according to the missive I received this morning, through the prosecutor's office, Dr. Scythe is unable to participate in these proceedings. Is that not the case?
Maybe, but I don't care. She told us so herself, didn't she? That she did.
Lord Van Zykes won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Strongheart has forbidden it.
Lord Strongheart? What's he up to?
The Pandora's box you were warned about is the Professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me.
Boulderdash and Piffle. Something happened on the night of that killer's execution 10 years ago. And surely nobody would want to get to the bottom of that more than Lord Van Zykes. Come on! Let's work together on this.
The prosecution calls for the instructions in that missive to be scrapped.
But
Lord Van Zykes! The missive was issued from the Lord Chief Justice's office.
Objection!
I don't give a damn. The assigned prosecutor has the final say on policy in any particular trial. In other words, me. So shut up and do what I say. Yes. Let Enoch Drebber and Dr. Scythe both take the stand together. Order! 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 Very well, I will uphold your request. Bailiff, send a subpoena with immediate effect addressed to Dr. Scythe of the Forensic Investigation Team. The woman is compelled to attend on Her Majesty's orders.
Alright then. Enoch Drebber and Dr. Scythe. If they weren't colluding with one another, this crime could never have been committed. I'm just a stone's throw away. I can feel it. Feel it in my balls. The truth behind all this is about to come out.